If I run for 10 more minutes, maybe I won't be that late, Emma Carter muttered, adjusting her skirt as the wind kept trying to blow it up. She was running down the avenue, not very gracefully, heading to the company where she worked as an administrative assistant. No car, no bike, and the bus? Well, the bus had passed 30 seconds before she turned the corner. To make things worse, today was the big day. The new CEO would be introduced. Rumor had it he was young, rich, and mysterious. He had taken over after a surprise merger. No one knew what he looked like, just that he came from a wealthy family and studied at Harvard. Just a few steps from the crosswalk, while mentally repeating, "Don't trip, don't trip," she heard a noise from the side and a whoosh of wind. She looked over, and then everything happened at once. A bicycle came out of nowhere. The cyclist, Noah, looked like he stepped straight out of a magazine. Dark blue suit, headphones in his ears. The contrast was almost funny, tall, classy, with the kind of casual look you'd see in a cologne ad. He must have been in a hurry, too, because he was flying past. "Watch out!" Emma tried to shout, but it was too late. The bike got way too close. One of the pedals snagged the edge of her skirt, yanking the fabric hard. She felt the sudden breeze on her legs and the unmistakable sound of ripping. "What? Are you crazy? You pervert!" Emma shouted, using her bag to cover herself as she ran toward him, her face completely red. Noah hit the brakes, turned around, and saw her skirt caught on the bike chain like a white flag. He stared at the girl in her button-up shirt, bare legs, eyes wide open in shock. "I'm so sorry. I swear it was an accident," he said, dropping the bike and running toward her, holding the skirt. "Are you nuts? Some kind of two-wheeled creep?" "What?" "No. You're the one who stepped into my way. I was walking on the sidewalk, and I was dodging a killer poodle. You ripped off my skirt." "Blame the skirt. Why wear something so? Snag-prone? Snag-prone? Are you just making up words now? It's an offensively aerodynamic skirt." Now they were face to face. She stood there in just a long shirt, trying to keep what little dignity she had left. He stood there holding the skirt like a surrender flag. "Give me that." She yanked the fabric from his hand, furious. "Really? I'm sorry. Can I help somehow? You've helped enough. What's next? Going to rip off the rest of my clothes? Look, I was just trying to get to work. So was I. And guess what? Now I'll show up looking like I crawled out of a tornado. Hey, want a ride?" He pointed to the bike. "If you bring that bike near me again, I'll throw coffee on your suit." Noah raised his hands, laughing despite himself. Okay. It was an unfortunate accident with a funny twist." She glared at him. He winked. She sighed, turned around, pulled 2 bobby pins from her bag, and did her best to twist and pin the skirt back in place. "Get out of here, apocalypse cyclist." Noah got on his bike and started pedaling. About 10 meters away, he called back, "Sorry I took your skirt, but nice legs." He laughed out loud. She raised her finger at him, the index one, because she still had manners. With her skirt badly pinned together, she turned and walked away, holding on to whatever pride she had left. This has to be a cosmic prank. First, the bus skips me, then Tarzan on a bike, and now I'm holding my clothes together with bobby pins. Great, Emma. Just great. Far ahead, Noah kept looking back, still laughing. She's intense, but she's not going to forget me anytime soon. The company auditorium was packed, screens on, projectors ready, little coffees being served on plastic trays pretending to be fancy. Everyone whispered, wondering who the new CEO was. "They say he's young," one receptionist whispered, "and super rich, like private jet and an elevator in the bedroom rich," another added, "but no one's seen a photo, not even on LinkedIn. He's like a ghost CEO." Meanwhile, Emma was walking down the hallway like she just survived a zombie attack. Her skirt was still pinned with 2 bobby pins, and with each step, she could feel the fabric threatening to fall. She skipped the coffee table, ignored the stares and whispers, and found a seat in the back row, trying to disappear. "Emma," whispered Lily, her coworker, "what happened to your clothes?" "Long story. It involves a bicycle and a mentally unstable guy," she replied, adjusting her skirt for the 10th time. That sounds awful. Was it a robbery? Worse, it was a fashion accident. I'll tell you later. Lily just blinked, confused, while Emma turned her focus to the stage in front of them. An HR executive stepped up to the microphone with the energy of an awards show host. Good morning, everyone. Today is a special day for our company. As you know, our new CEO is here. He's taking over starting today, and I can assure you, he's a true changemaker. Emma rolled her eyes. Here come the arrogant guys in suits. The presenter went on, Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Noah Parker. Emma's heart stopped literally, a second of complete silence. Her feet froze, eyes wide. No. Slowly, she stood up a bit to get a better look. And there he was, the creepy cyclist, the skirt yanker, the man who ruined her dignity that morning, walking calmly up to the stage, smiling in a perfect suit. Same face, same carefully messy hair. He held the microphone like he was born to do it. Emma took a step back, stumbled on her heel, and shouted without thinking, You. Noah turned, and their eyes met. His smile widened a little. She was speechless. Lily grabbed her arm. What was that? Do you know him? He pulled off my skirt. Total silence. Someone coughed up front. Noah coughed, too, like he was trying to play it off. Well, I guess that was quite the unique introduction, he said, looking at Emma for a moment before turning back to the audience. As some of you might know, or may have just found out, it's been an interesting morning. But I want to say I'm excited about this new challenge, and especially about the chance to work with such an expressive team. The room let out a polite laugh. Emma slowly sat down, wishing she could melt into the carpet. For the next few minutes, she couldn't even hear what he was saying. All she saw was the scene from earlier playing in her head, the skirt flying, the bike screeching, him holding the fabric and saying, Your legs are beautiful. And now he was her boss. Of course, obviously, the universe hated her. When the speech ended, Noah came down from the stage calmly, greeted the directors, and walked down the center aisle like a celebrity on the red carpet. Emma tried to hide behind an intern's head, but it was too late. He passed by, tilted his face slightly, and whispered, Careful not to lose your skirt. She clenched her teeth. You're going to pay for this, cyclist turned CEO. I'm looking forward to it, he said with a half smile as he walked on. Lily looked at her, wide-eyed. What was that, Emma? What do you mean he pulled off your skirt? Literally pulled it off. It was like a wild fashion show gone wrong. I want to disappear. And he's really handsome. Shut up. No, really. I think I'm falling for him. I think he's a magazine cover psychopath. That's kind of hot, too. Lily. Okay. But are you really going to keep working here with him staring at you like that? Emma sighed. Her skirt was starting to come apart again. She got up and quietly left the auditorium, holding the fabric with both hands. But before she could leave, she heard one last line. By the way, said the HR executive at the mic, the new CEO will have a personal assistant. We'll announce who it is later today. Emma froze at the door. No, not me. I'm not. Then she felt a chill, a very bad feeling. You wouldn't, would you? Outside, Noah was talking to someone from HR, typing on his phone. On the screen, he wrote, About my assistant, I've already chosen. Emma was pacing in the HR hallway, her skirt still half-pinned and her head spinning. What started as a regular morning had turned into a nightmare in several chapters. First, the bicycle accident. Then, the public humiliation in the auditorium. Now, the cherry on top. Someone from HR had just invited her to a private meeting with the new CEO. She walked into the room with frayed nerves but kept her posture. She held her head high, chest out, and knocked on the door. Come in, said the voice inside. She opened the door. There he was, Noah, sitting in a swivel chair, holding a coffee cup as if nothing had happened. Seriously, you call me in here and pretend everything's normal. Hello, Emma. Have a seat, he said, pointing to the chair in front of his desk, wearing that same smug smile. I'd rather stand. I've been sitting since you ripped my skirt off. I need time to recover emotionally. Noah raised his eyebrows, resting his elbow on the table. Nice to see we're starting off with maturity. Maturity? You ran me over with a corporate bike, and now you want to talk about maturity. Technically, you stepped into my path. Technically, you have issues. And technically, you just got promoted. Emma blinked twice. You heard me. I've decided you're going to be my new personal assistant starting today. The silence in the room lasted exactly 3 seconds before it broke. Are you kidding me? I don't joke about promotions. That could lead to lawsuits. After what you did to me this morning, the least you could do is let me work 5 miles away from you. But you're organized, direct, you speak your mind, have good reflexes. He pointed at the coffee she was still holding, and clearly handle tough situations well. You're perfect for the job. This is punishment, not a promotion. Are you trying to torture me? Just a little, he said with a smile. Listen here, Noah Parker, or whatever your superhero in a suit name is. I'm not taking this job. Forget it. He crossed his arms and leaned forward. Of course, you can refuse. But then you stay at the shared desk next to that printer that yells, paper jam all day. And no raise. Emma hesitated. She thought about her bills, her rent, the printer, Supervisor Rachel's constant complaints. This is emotional and professional blackmail. Welcome to corporate life. She crossed her arms. Fine, I'll take it. But just so you know, I'm going to make your life very difficult. Great. I love a challenge, and you're going to regret it. I already regret riding my bike to work this morning. But here we are. Emma took a deep breath. She was now officially tied into an emotional contract with a cycling CEO who, for some reason, thought all of this was funny. And what about the dress code? She asked. Because the skirt you tore is beyond repair. I already ordered new clothes for you. Stronger fabrics, gear-resistant. She gave him a deadly stare. He faked surprise. Just kidding. But seriously. You'll get whatever you need. Good. Because if another piece of my clothing gets ruined because of you, I'm suing for emotional, material, and textile damages. Just give me one chance to make it up to you. Let's work together for a week. If at the end you still want out, I'll let you go. No strings attached. Emma looked at him, evaluating. She loved a challenge, but this one felt personal. 1 week. And if you pull on any part of my clothing again, I'll tie your tie to the bike wheel. Deal. She turned to leave, but before she reached the door, she heard, Emma, what now? Want my shoes too? Just wanted to say it's nice to see you again in a less traumatic way. She stopped, slowly turned back with a smile. It's still traumatic. The setting just changed. And she left, slamming the door with slight satisfaction. In the next room, Lily was waiting, jaw dropped. Emma, did you talk to him? I did. And I'm his new personal assistant. You what? Yep. Apparently, I got promoted for passive aggression and clothing endurance. That's wonderful. It's a trap with the beginning of a romance. Don't start, Lily. Just don't. Emma went back to her temporary desk and began packing her things. She knew the days ahead would be intense, full of teasing, challenges, and probably more embarrassing moments. But one thing was certain. She wasn't going down without a fight. And Noah better be ready because if he thought he was good at games, he hadn't seen Emma in competitive mode. First day as the CEO's assistant, Emma showed up right at 8 o'clock. Wearing a new skirt, no safety pins, this time a crisp blouse, and a folder full of courage and emotional resilience, she had made herself some serious promises. Don't lose her temper, don't break anything, and, most importantly, don't be affected by the cyclist boss's smile. Good morning, she said, walking into Noah's office. He was standing, spinning a globe on his desk with his finger. You know the best thing about a globe? He asked, not looking at her. It doesn't try to rip people's skirts off. Noah laughed. Emma placed the folder on the desk and waited for the day's instructions. All right, Emma. Today, we'll review contracts with our international partners, align the performance reports, and dodge runaway bicycles. Still on that? I will never get over it. They spent the morning going over documents. Emma was typing so forcefully it sounded like the keyboard was crying for help. Noah, on the other hand, watched her with that relaxed look, like she was putting on a play, and he had front row seats. In the middle of reading a report, he said, "Do you always fix your hair like that when you're annoyed?" "Only when I have to deal with teasing billionaires." "Good. I'll use that as an emotional thermometer." "And do you always cross your arms and look at me like you know things I don't?" "Just the secrets of your patience, which, I have to admit, is impressive." She raised an eyebrow at him. "Do you really need to comment on everything?" "Only when the company is interesting." Emma tried to ignore him. Tried, but his comments had an annoyingly charming quality. Around noon, they went down together to the company cafeteria. The walk to the elevator was quiet, but as soon as the doors closed, Noah let out a loud sigh. "This elevator takes longer than my college degree." "Oh, so you didn't inherit the company?" "No. I studied, worked, drank awful coffee, and lived like an intern for 3 years. Hard to picture you as an intern. I was great. One time, I typed a whole report wearing oven mitts because the AC was broken." Emma let out a small laugh. "Seriously? Sadly, yes." The elevator jerked for a second, making a strange noise. They looked at each other, tense. "Was that a sign from above?" Emma asked. "Maybe something like, 'You're flirting at work. Get back to your spreadsheets.'" "Flirting? Who's flirting?" "You are." "Me? You're the one saying lines that sound like a French perfume ad." "That was flirting, too." "Stop it." The doors opened. They walked out with serious faces that fooled no one. At lunch, they sat at a table in the corner. Emma wanted to avoid the curious glances from coworkers. Lily walked by every 5 minutes just to say hi with a suspicious smile. "Lily thinks we're in some office drama," Emma whispered, eyeing her friend. "Aren't we?" "If we are, it's a badly written episode." Noah bit into a sandwich. "I like badly written episodes. They always have surprises." Later, back in the office, they were discussing a contract clause. "This is badly worded," Emma said, pointing with her pen. "Payment with retroactive date until the last 10th of the month. It's standard legal language. It sounds robotic. Can I rewrite it?" "Go ahead. But if I get a letter from legal using slang like super cool, I'll blame you." Emma wrote, "Payment will be made by the last day of the month, based on the agreed amounts." Clear. Elegant. No slang. Noah read it and nodded. "Impressive. I know. I can also make coffee with one hand and print labels with the other. I don't doubt it." "And you? Me? What?" "Besides riding bikes and removing women's clothes in public, do you have any useful skills?" Noah laughed, the kind of relaxed laugh that made Emma secretly more irritated. "I cook. Not well, but I do. And I can tie a necktie with my eyes closed." "Congrats. That'll save you in a necktie uprising." "And you?" "I can guess someone's coffee order just by looking at their face." "Try me." She looked at him for 3 seconds. "Oat milk latte with a pinch of cinnamon." "Because you pretend to be more complicated than you are." Noah blinked slowly. "Was I right?" "Unnervingly, yes. I'm good at this game." "You're good at more things than you let on." She didn't respond. She looked at the clock. "I have to drop off some reports at HR. Want me to go with you?" "No. It'll look like we're flirting again. And the elevator might want revenge." She walked off firmly. Noah watched her disappear down the hallway. And for the first time that day, he had nothing to say. He just stood there, staring at the door with a slight smile. Later in the afternoon, Emma went back to her old desk to grab a mug she'd forgotten. Lily was already there, obviously waiting. So what? How many kisses so far?" "Lily, just asking." "You've laughed, argued, flirted. The next step is either a kiss or a dramatic hallway argument. Nothing like that is going to happen. You like him. I hate him. You like him in a way you haven't figured out yet." Emma huffed and walked away, pretending the conversation didn't get to her. But deep down, a little voice said, "What if Lily's right?" On Friday morning, Emma had barely arrived at the office when she saw a golden envelope on her desk with her name handwritten in elegant cursive. Lily, of course, was already beside her, practically buzzing with excitement. Someone's feeling very important. What's that? If it's a fashion court summons, probably deserved, Emma muttered, carefully taking the envelope. She opened it. Inside was a fancy invitation to the company's annual event, a gala dinner with all the executives, investors, and senior staff. "Oh no," she said, reading the bold print. "Mandatory presence of the CEO's personal assistant. That means you." Lily smiled. "And in that new dress, you're ready to shine, huh?" Emma sighed. Shine isn't the word I'd use. Quietly survive sounds better. Later, around lunchtime, she got an internal call from the executive floor. "Mr. Parker's office. It's him. Can you come up?" Emma rolled her eyes, grabbed her notepad, and walked up with steady steps. When she entered, she saw Noah with his back turned, fiddling with a small white box on his desk. "You called?" "Yes," he said, turning around with a package in his hands. "This is for you. If it's another skirt, I'd rather pick my own." "Thanks." "It's not. It's a gift." She raised an eyebrow. "Is it poison?" "No. It's a dress." Emma frowned. "You got me a dress for the event? Consider it a long overdue apology and a thank you for surviving 2 weeks as my assistant without killing me." She hesitated. The package was elegant, delicate, very nicely wrapped, and smelled ridiculously good. "Look, Noah, you don't need to buy me clothes. I already have a dress." "You do?" "Yes. Navy blue. Thin fabric. No sparkle. And a zipper that always gets stuck." Emma's eyes widened. "How do you know?" "I'm observant. I'm also good with zippers. But this one," he held up the box, "this is different. I think it'll suit you." She crossed her arms defiantly. "If it's red, I'm sending it back. What if it's black with subtle details and a cut that flatters without overdoing it? I'll think about wearing it." That night, Emma walked into the main hall, holding a black clutch borrowed from Lily, her heart pounding. The dress really was black with a gentle shimmer on the shoulders and an elegant slit that showed her legs as she walked. She felt different. But what made her most nervous was knowing that at any moment Noah would appear and surely say something clever to throw her off, like always. She spotted colleagues, directors, a few investors she only knew by email. And then, finally, she saw him. Noah was talking with a group of businessmen, laughing at something that didn't seem funny, like all CEOs at formal events. But when he saw her, he froze for a second, just 1 second. And that was enough for Lily, standing beside her, to whisper, "He's looking." And he stopped smiling. Must have remembered the bicycle trauma. "He's coming. Oh my gosh, he's coming. I'm shaking, and it's not even about me." Noah crossed the room and stopped in front of Emma. He looked her up and down with a light, almost respectful smile. "The dress suits you. Trying to say it looks great on me? No, I'm saying the dress is lucky to be on you." Emma bit her lip, trying not to smile. "Are you going to use that charm all night? Just until you admit you like the gift? Maybe I like it a little." "How much is a little?" "About 10%. That's progress. We'll be at 50 soon. If we get to 50, you're leaving here on a bicycle. Will you ride with me? Only if you don't try to take anything off along the way." They laughed together, and for the first time since the start of their emotional Cold War, things between them felt light, almost easy. During dinner, they sat at the same table among directors and other guests. Emma found herself relaxing, telling funny stories about work, and Noah laughed with genuine interest, like everything about her was a discovery. But not everything would be perfect. While they were getting dessert, a tall blonde woman in a gold dress with knife-sharp heels approached the table. "Noah, what a surprise seeing you here." Emma felt a chill down her spine. Noah turned politely, though his smile faded. "Ava. You made it." "Of course, I'm a shareholder, remember?" She gave Emma a look like she was examining a rare bug. "And this is Emma, my assistant." "Interesting." Ava extended her hand. "You two seem close." "Only in chairs," Emma replied, shaking her hand with a forced smile. Ava let out a light laugh, the kind that says, "I'm going to destroy you," and still sound polite. I'll see you around, she said, walking away with a sway that had probably been practiced in the mirror. Emma looked at Noah. Who's the snake ex-girlfriend? Why does she say your name like it's a fancy perfume brand? Because she still thinks we're getting back together, which isn't happening. Good to know. Were you jealous? I was afraid she might trip me with her stiletto heels. She wouldn't stand a chance. You could take her down with 2 hairpins. Emma laughed, and for a moment, everything felt just a little too perfect. Hours later, when the guests started to leave, Noah walked her to the door. Thanks for coming and for wearing the dress, and thank you for not saying anything about my attempt to wear heels without looking like a limping duck. You walked gracefully. I hardly noticed you tripped 3 times. That was part of the choreography. They laughed again, and then came a silence, this time heavier. Noah looked into her eyes. I really enjoyed tonight. Me too. More than I expected. Would you like to go out sometime outside of work? No reports, no emails, no bikes. But before she could answer, a notification sound interrupted them. She picked up her phone. A message from Lily. Emma, you need to see this now. Urgent. Seconds later, another notification. A video. Emma clicked. The shaky footage showed Noah talking to Ava in the garden too close, smiling. She touched his arm. What? Noah noticed the change in her face. Emma, you said there was nothing going on with her. There isn't. Then why were you two touching in the garden like a scene from a soap opera? It's not what it looks like. She put the phone away, her smile gone. Good night, Noah. Emma, thanks for the dress. And she walked away, leaving him standing alone at the entrance. Noah sighed. He knew the night wasn't really over. But what bothered him the most was that, for the first time, he felt like he had no control over how the story would end. Emma spent the weekend watching that video over and over, 1, 2, 6 times, and every time, the same feeling hit her like a punch in the stomach. He lied. Ava was there, touching Noah's arm like they had just gotten back together. And he didn't pull away. He smiled. He chatted. He looked comfortable, close. Lily, who had sent the video, tried to lighten the mood with her usual humor. Maybe she's like an allergy from the past. Pops up out of nowhere, itches a little, then goes away. She looked pretty comfortable with the itch, Emma replied, lying on the couch in her avocado pajamas. You're clearly upset, which means you care. Emma didn't answer. Upset was putting it mildly. The problem wasn't just the ex or the arm touching. It was the fact that Noah had looked her in the eyes and said there was nothing going on with Ava. And now she couldn't decide if she was more upset with him or with herself for starting to believe the whole thing. Monday, 9 o'clock a.m. Emma knocked on the office door firmly. When Noah said, "Come in," she entered like a storm. "Good morning, Mr. Parker," she said, using the most professional tone she could manage. He looked up from his laptop and smiled, but it quickly faded. "Emma, is everything okay?" "Everything's great. Ready for another week of hard work and 0 emotional involvement." He frowned. That was specific. Just being clear. "After all, we're professionals, right?" "Right," he answered cautiously. "Is something wrong?" "Not unless you've got another ex hiding in the garden." He blinked. "Oh, yeah. Oh." Noah leaned forward in his chair. "You saw the video more times than I'd like to admit. I can explain." "Of course you can. But that doesn't change the fact that you told me one thing and then acted like you were still into her at the same event." "I'm not into her." "Not at all." "Didn't look that way." She showed up unexpectedly, started chatting. "I was just being polite." "Polite?" "She was all over you like a perfume commercial." "You know that's not true." "I don't know anything anymore." "Know why? Because I started to trust you, and that was my mistake." Silence filled the room. "Emma, no. Let's get to work. I don't get paid to feel things. I get paid to manage your schedule, remind you of meetings, and resist the urge to hit you with a pencil holder." Noah leaned back in his chair, saying nothing. For the first time, he looked lost. The following days were a parade of passive-aggressive silence. Emma carried out all her tasks with surgical precision. She took notes, scheduled appointments, typed, delivered reports. But nothing beyond what was necessary, no jokes, no glances, no light sarcasm. Noah, on the other hand, tried to ease the tension with his usual lines, coffee with oat milk and a pinch of awkward silence. She handed him the mug without saying a word. On Wednesday, during a meeting with investors, Emma made sure to sit across the room, far from him. When he called her to present one of the charts, she replied sharply, "Sure, after all, you always call me when you need someone to save your presentation." The investors laughed. Noah didn't. After the meeting, he stopped her in the hallway. "We need to talk. I don't see a reason. You're hurt, and I want to fix that. You want to control it. That's not the same thing." "Emma, look, Noah. I joined this company with zero expectations. Zero. Then you showed up, pulled my world apart, messed with my routine, my head, and now you act like none of it matters. But it does." Too late. She turned around and walked away, leaving him alone in the hallway, shoulders down. On Friday, Ava showed up again. This time, she walked straight in like she had full access, wearing an expensive outfit, crystal heels, and a confident smile. Emma saw her heading toward reception and quickly slipped into the break room. Lily came in 2 minutes later, out of breath. "The Viper's back. She's on Noah's floor. Does he know she's here?" "I think so." She walked in like she owns the place. Emma bit her lip. She thought about going up, thought about ignoring it, thought about quitting and running off to Hawaii. But she stayed. An hour later, Noah came downstairs. He looked for Emma and found her by the printer, waiting for a report. "We need to talk now." She didn't even look at him. "We already did. Remember? You explained. I lost it. That's it." Ava came to say goodbye. "Wow. To you or to my patients. She's leaving the country. She's taking care of her family's business overseas. This has nothing to do with you." "Then why are you telling me?" "Because I wanted you to know. To see that there's no us anymore." "And you want applause?" "No. I want a chance to fix what I broke." "You didn't just break that, Noah. You broke the way I used to see you." "Then look at me again." She looked at him for a moment, but before she could say anything, her phone rang. It was HR. "I have to take this." She turned and left him standing there once again. That night, Emma sat on her couch with a tub of ice cream and her phone in hand. She thought about everything. The bicycle, the skirt, the golden invitation, the black dress, the way Noah looked at her when she truly laughed. And for the first time in days, she cried not a dramatic soap opera cry, but a quiet, held-back cry, like someone who realizes they're in too deep to go back, but still afraid to move forward. Monday, 8:45 a.m. Emma arrived early. The skirt was new, the blouse too, hair tied up in a quick bun, and her heart a mess disguised as responsibility. Noah wasn't in yet. She used the quiet to organize her desk, review the schedule, and make his coffee. When he walked in, they looked at each other for a second, one of those seconds that feels like forever. "Good morning," he said. "Good morning," she replied, softer than she meant to. He walked to his desk, took off his blazer, sat down, and stayed silent. A few minutes later, without looking up, he said, "If you want to leave, I understand." Emma frowned. "What do you mean?" "If you don't want to keep being my assistant, if you want to go back to your old department or leave the company, I understand. I don't want to be another weight in your life." She took a deep breath, thought for a moment, then said firmly, "I'm not leaving. Not yet." "Why not?" "Because I haven't decided if you're worth it." Noah swallowed hard. "That's fair. And also because, despite everything, I like the challenge." He looked up. "Working with me? Putting up with you? That's almost a compliment. It's the best you'll get today." They both smiled small, hesitant, but real. And just like that, after a week of tension, silence, and an ex-girlfriend haunting the halls, the two of them took one uncertain step toward starting over death. No promises, no guarantees. Just the idea that maybe, just maybe, there was still something there. Something worth fighting for. The office felt quieter that week. The voices in the halls sounded muffled, like someone had turned down the volume on the routine. Even the sound of Emma's keyboard felt different, less angry, more tired. There was an invisible wall between her and Noah. It wasn't made of harsh words or open wounds. It was made of hesitation, of missing smiles, of avoided glances. Emma kept working. She answered what needed to be answered, met her deadlines, organized schedules, took calls. But what used to be full of sarcasm and light teasing had turned into dry phrases like, "meeting at 2 p.m." The report was submitted. The call with the client is scheduled. On the other side, Noah seemed to adjust to the silence with quiet discomfort. He knew Emma was there out of duty, not choice. He knew he had lost something subtle, something valuable. On Tuesday, while coming back from an off-site meeting, Noah passed by a park near the office. He stopped his bike, which had become just a quiet way to get around, and sat on a bench in the shade. He stayed there for almost 20 minutes, no phone, no thoughts about weekly charts, just trying to figure out exactly when everything went off track, when a simple awkward meeting on the street had turned into emotional confusion. He remembered their first elevator talk, the silly arguments, the way she refused to be charmed. And strangely, that's what had charmed him most. Now there were no jokes, no yelling about ripped skirts, no office debates about who was more stubborn. Now there was just distance. Lily noticed the change on the second day. "You're acting like you're going through a divorce without ever being married," she said, tossing a candy wrapper into the trash with perfect aim. Emma answered with a sigh. "It's not a divorce. It's more like an emotional break. Does he know you're on this break? He's probably on the same one. Do you still like him?" "I like who he was before he became a walking dilemma." "Emma, if he had just been honest from the start, maybe things would be different. But now, every time I look at him, I remember that night, that video, that feeling of being misled." But he explained it. "I know, and you believe him." Emma stayed quiet for a moment before answering. "I do, but I can't forget." Noah, on his side, tried to fill the gap with work. He started leaving the office earlier, eating lunch alone, delegating tasks to assistants from other departments, even though he knew Emma would do them better. And she noticed. She noticed files being passed to others, emails he used to ask her to write now being handled by interns. She also noticed that he avoided looking at her in the hallway. It was as if they were standing on opposite sides of the same bridge, both waiting for the other to take the first step. On Thursday afternoon, Emma was called by HR. They needed her to help organize the annual leadership meeting, which would bring together representatives from different company branches. It was a big event, and she'd have to work with another executive coordinator. She accepted right away. Anything that kept her busy and away from the daily tension with Noah was welcome. During the planning meetings, she met James Wilson, a manager from one of the East Coast branches, tall, cheerful, a bit clumsy, but with a light energy that contrasted with the office's gray atmosphere. "So, you're the famous Emma Carter," he said, shaking her hand with a genuine smile. "Famous? I've heard stories. Like she runs 3 meetings at once and still keeps the corporate world from falling apart." Emma smiled. "Oh, that? Yes, I can confirm. That's my superpower." With James, the heaviness in her chest felt lighter. The conversations were easy, no hidden messages, no history. And little by little, she found herself laughing again, not in the same way she laughed with Noah, but in a new way, lighter, safer. On Friday, after another planning meeting, James invited her for coffee. "Just to thank you for saving my reputation in front of the marketing coordinators," he said, putting his hands in his pockets with a childlike smile. Emma accepted. The coffee was pleasant. She shared funny stories from her early days at the company, and he talked about his work trips gone wrong, including one where he forgot his suitcase at the hotel and only realized it at the airport. They laughed a lot. And at one point, James looked at her with a little more attention. "You have a beautiful laugh, you know that?" Emma looked away. "You're also good at making compliments sound like jokes. And you're very good at changing the subject." She smiled, and for a brief moment, she felt that maybe, just maybe, She was starting to open up to something new. That same day, Noah walked into the meeting room and through the inner window saw Emma sitting in the company's cafe. She was with James, laughing, head tilted, eyes glowing, and Noah felt something he couldn't quite explain. It wasn't jealousy. It was an odd discomfort, a restlessness, like reloading a movie he had started to enjoy. But now someone else had taken his seat. He closed the blinds, went back to his office, and for the first time in weeks, he sat down. Unable to focus on work. "Do you think he saw us?" Emma asked Lily the next day. "Oh, for sure. You think he doesn't watch you?" "He pretends not to. But he tracks your every move like a motion detector. He doesn't have that right anymore. And James, he's nice. Nice-like could be my cousin nice, or nice-like. Maybe I should give him a shot nice. I'm not sure yet." Lily touched her arm. "Just don't shut the door just because one window didn't work out, okay?" Emma laughed. "Pudik. I learned it from fortune cookies." The following week, the distance between Emma and Noah felt more formal than ever. Their interactions were minimal, professional, calculated. During a strategic planning meeting, he asked her a question, and she answered accurately, but without looking at him. James, also in the room, took note of everything. He didn't say anything. But later in the hallway, he casually said, "You seem a little tense around your boss." "Oh, that? Corporate stuff. Got it. If you ever want to talk, I'm good at listening without interrupting. It's my hidden talent." Emma smiled, and this time, she accepted his dinner invitation. That evening, they went to a restaurant with live music. They talked, laughed, and James drove her home. At the door, he leaned in slightly. Emma hesitated, but then touched her cheek to his for a kiss. "Thanks for tonight," she said. "Any time," he replied, smiling before walking away. She walked in, closed the door, and saw her reflection in the living room mirror. For a moment, she tried to imagine what it would have been like if Noah had been the one there. But the image didn't fit. Like trying to place a piece from the wrong puzzle. She sighed, picked up her phone, and saw an unread message from Noah. "Great job coordinating the event. I saw the photos. You looked great." Emma stared at the screen for a few seconds before replying, "Thanks. I hope the project met your expectations." Cold. Professional. Noah read it and didn't reply. The event the next week was a success. Everything went as planned. At the end, Emma and James were congratulated by upper management. They got bonuses and public praise. Noah watched from a distance. He clapped, he smiled, but didn't come closer. Emma noticed and didn't go to him either. They were once again on opposite sides of the bridge, this time farther apart than ever. And yet, something between them hadn't fully broken. It was like an invisible thread stretched, tense, almost snapped, but still there, present, waiting. The last thing Emma expected to find on her desk that morning was a handwritten envelope. The handwriting was familiar, straight, neat, no frills, like someone who prefers saying things with as few words as possible. She hesitated before opening it. The office was still empty. Noah hadn't arrived yet. Lily walked by behind her, holding a cup of chamomile tea and giving her a curious look. Secret message? Invitation to Hogwarts? No, looks more like a letter. A letter in 2025. That's someone trying to apologize with emotional impact. Emma didn't answer. She opened it. "Emma, I thought about sending this by email, more practical, less risky. But I realized part of the problem between us started when I kept choosing the easy way. So, for the first time in a long while, I'm doing it the hard way. You may not know this, but I noticed you from day one. Even before the skirt and the bike. Yes, I had already seen you at reception a few days earlier. That day was just chaotic. But after the mess, the arguments, the sharp conversations, I started liking how you challenged me. I'm not writing this to excuse my mistakes. They exist, and I own them. Ava was part of my past for a long time. So when she showed up, I froze not because I felt anything for her, but because I was afraid of falling into the same old patterns I've always hated. You brought me something new, something I couldn't control, and that scared me. If I have even the smallest chance of helping you see who I really am, not just who I was when I got it wrong, I'm going to take it, even if now you're smiling because of someone else. With everything I still don't know how to say face to face, Noah." Emma stood still. The paper trembled in her hands. The handwriting danced before her eyes, blurring into small wet spots that she quickly wiped away with her sleeve. Lily stepped closer. "So, he wrote a letter." "Oh, great. Now it really feels like a soap opera. What does it say? That he regrets it, that he saw me before the bike, and that he's trying to fix everything the hard way." Lily looked at her for a moment, then said, "This got to you, didn't it?" Emma just nodded. That day, Noah avoided crossing paths with her. He knew he had left something too personal on the table, but he didn't regret it. Maybe it was the only way he could be heard, with no interruptions, no sarcasm, no masks. For the first time, he didn't try to control her. He just let go. Later that afternoon, Emma appeared at his office door. She knocked softly. "Can I come in?" He stood up right away. "Of course." She walked in without the stern look she had before. She wasn't smiling, but she also didn't have that cold air she'd carried in recent weeks. "I read your letter." He waited, tense. "I wasn't expecting that." Neither was I, but I had to say it. She stepped up to the desk, stopped in front of him. When Ava showed up, it wasn't just her that shook me. It was everything at once, the idea that maybe I was being too naive, throwing myself into something I didn't really understand. "You were never naive." "I was, because I let myself imagine things." "Imagine what?" She took a deep breath, rested her fingers on the desk. That between the torn skirt and the mixed-up coffees, a story was happening, one just for us. And it was. I wanted to believe that. But when everything got messy, I realized I was hoping for a kind of love that might only exist in books. Noah walked around the desk, stopping in front of her. "There's no such thing as perfect love, but there are people willing to try." "I'm trying, Emma." "I know." "And James." She looked at him, surprised by the direct question. "James is easy to be around. He's kind. He makes me laugh. He doesn't make me overthink everything. But he's not you." Noah closed his eyes for a moment, taking in those words like fresh air after being underwater. "I don't want to mess things up with you anymore. I don't want to feel like I'm losing myself." "Then let's take it slow." "Slow might work." They both smiled. It wasn't a reconciliation. It wasn't a declaration. It was something in between, an emotional truce, a chance. In the following days, Noah and Emma began talking again, more lightly. The jokes came back, but now more carefully. Their eyes met, but without urgency. They seemed like two strangers learning a new language, each other's language. James noticed the change and quietly stepped back. He remained Emma's friend, but made it clear he wouldn't compete for something that was never his. "He's who you want," he told her at a cafe a week later. "And that's okay. Life's like that. Sometimes we're just bridges. Sometimes we're the destination. You're more than a bridge, James. Your kindness. Kindness also knows when to leave the stage." A new project came up at the company, an international expansion. Noah would need to travel, and he'd take a small team with him for key meetings. Emma was the first one chosen to go, but she hesitated. "It's going to be a long trip," Noah said. "Hours on the same plane, same hotel, same time zone. It'll be a test for me, for you, for us." She thought for a moment. What if everything falls apart? Then we rebuild, or learn to live with the ruins. Emma took a deep breath. "Okay, I'll go." The trip was a turning point. During meetings, Noah was focused, sharp, confident, but outside of work, he was different. He showed her the city, shared stories from his intern days, opened up about personal moments with ease. One night on the hotel rooftop, they looked out over the city lights below. "Have you ever thought about stopping?" she asked. "Stopping what?" "Trying to please everyone, always being right, always in control." "I have, but the business world isn't kind to people who seem weak. What if I told you your vulnerability is the most interesting thing about you?" He looked at her for a few seconds. Then maybe I should start showing that side more. Maybe you should. A comfortable silence settled between them until he said, "That day with the bike, I thought I'd never see you again. And I thought you deserved a fine. Maybe I still do." She laughed. So did he. And then, slowly, he reached out and held her hand. They didn't say anything because, that night, silence said it all. The return from the trip was silent, but not uncomfortable silence. It was that rare, comfortable kind of silence. Emma stared out the airplane window while Noah, sitting next to her, was reviewing a proposal on his laptop, but occasionally glanced at her, as if he wanted to make sure she was still there. There was something in the air. Something unsaid, a good kind of tension. Not uncomfortable, but also not going away. When the plane landed and they took a taxi together, Noah was the first to speak. "I was thinking, tomorrow is Saturday." "Great observation," Emma said, giving him a half-smile. "And I thought maybe we could do something outside the office. No spreadsheets, no emails, no quarterly profit reports." "Like a date?" "Like a date, but a special one." Emma raised an eyebrow. "You're not asking me out, are you?" "No." He paused. "I'm asking you for a chance. A chance. A chance to see what we are outside these walls. No pressure, no labels, just the two of us." She looked away to the window. Her heart sped up a little nothing she let show. "All right," she said finally. "But if there's a bike involved, I'm out." "I promise." Nothing with wheels. The next morning, Emma woke up with an unusual sense of anxiety. She spent 20 minutes picking out an outfit that was casual but not sloppy, pretty but not overdone, as if that were something you could actually measure. When she stepped out of the building, Noah was standing in front of a car, and beside him, a light blue scooter. "You said nothing with wheels," she exclaimed, stopping in the middle of the sidewalk. "I said nothing with a bike. This is a scooter. It's a different category. You're a technical liar, but a charming one." She crossed her arms. "No way I'm getting on that." "Then let's walk." The scooter was just for retro charm. He shrugged. "I was sure you'd refuse." "Oh, great. You know me too well now." "Not enough yet. That's why the invite." They walked to a nearby park where a weekend food fair was taking place. Colorful stalls, tempting aromas, and a lively crowd. "This is unexpected," Emma said, accepting a goat cheese sample from a smiling vendor. "I thought it would be fun. Plus, you like things off the beaten path. Have you been studying my behavior? I consider it part of the job. CEO studying assistant profile, right? Very professional." They strolled between the stalls, stopping to try homemade pies, truffle garlic bread, pistachio brigadeiros, which Emma judged with a skeptical look before admitting they were good. In the middle of the park, there was a Ferris wheel surrounded by kids and teenagers. "Oh no, don't even think about it," Emma said, seeing Noah turn his face toward the attraction. "I didn't say anything." "You looked." "I'm innocent." "You're never innocent." But minutes later, they were sitting together in cabin number 12, slowly rising as the city stretched out in the background. "Do you remember our first day?" he asked. "The day you ripped my skirt? The same one?" He laughed. "I thought in that moment you'd hate me for the rest of your life." "I thought that too." "And now?" She looked at him. For a moment, there was no cabin, no park, no fair, just them, suspended in time. "Now, I don't know what we are, but I don't hate you anymore. If that helps, that's already a big win." He took her hand, not like he wanted to claim it, but like he was asking for permission. And she didn't pull away. The Ferris wheel ride ended, but the ease between them stayed. After the park, they continued walking through an old neighborhood in the city. They entered a small bookstore with the smell of aging pages. Emma pulled books off the shelves at random, laughing at the titles, while Noah followed, watching her more than the covers. "If you were a book, what genre would you be?" he asked, leaning against a shelf. "Romantic comedy with existential drama and a pinch of irony," she answered without hesitation. "Sounds fair." "And you?" "A complex instruction manual that no one reads until something goes wrong." She laughed out loud. And at that moment, Noah knew this was it. Right here, right now. Emma. Hmm? Can I ask you a more serious question? You're not going to propose to me, are you? Not yet. She fell silent, half joking, half suspicious, then asked, Would you give me a real chance? Emma looked at him. For a few seconds, she seemed to search for an answer inside herself, like someone sifting through a messy drawer, looking for something important. But before she could respond, the ground seemed to move literally. A loud crash echoed. A delivery truck, parked wrong on the corner, jerked as it tried to pull away, and when it hit the curb, it startled a group of cyclists. One of them lost control and, as if scripted by a sarcastic universe, flew straight into the bookstore window. Glass shattered. People screamed. The cyclist fell on a pile of decorative cushions and walked away unscathed. But Emma, surprised, stumbling backward, landed sitting, tearing the hem of her new skirt on an exposed screw from a shelf. Noah rushed to her. Are you okay? She looked at her skirt. Are you kidding me? You didn't get hurt? Just my pride and my skirt, again. Noah tried not to laugh, really hard. If you laugh, I swear, I won't, he said, trying to hold back a chuckle. I swear. But then Emma started laughing, too. It was that kind of desperate, comic laughter, the kind that only comes when the universe insists too much on a repeated joke. I'm a joke, Noah. A walking joke. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. She stopped. The laughter faded slowly. You're saying that while I'm sitting on the floor with a torn skirt, surrounded by cushions and broken glass, especially now. He reached out his hand to help her up. That wasn't the date I imagined, he said. It was chaotic, like everything with us, but sincere. She nodded. Sincere. Back in the car, with her skirt patched up with bookstore tape and a cushion as a bonus on her lap, Emma looked at him. About your question, Noah kept his eyes on the road, but his heart raced. I don't have an answer yet, she continued, but I want to keep asking with you. Then there's no problem. We'll build the answer. She smiled a tired but genuine smile. Just no bikes. Promise, I promise. But deep down, they both knew. It wasn't the bikes that were the problem. It was the heart. And that definitely was on the move. Emma didn't know exactly when doubt started to follow her more intensely than certainty. Maybe it had started in the bookstore, among the cushions and broken glass, or the moment Noah extended his hand with that look of someone who expected nothing anymore but offered everything. The fact is, in the days that followed, she felt torn. It wasn't like before, when anger and hurt dominated everything. Now it was worse because she wasn't angry. She wasn't disappointed. She was involved, scared, hopeful, all at once. The messages between them started again, but at their own pace, neither too intense nor cold. Conversations about trivial things, inside jokes, random comments about coworkers, like they were trying to build new ground over the rubble of what had been. At work, they kept it discreet, no more obvious flirting, no loud teasing, but there were glances, small smiles, and, at certain moments, a quiet proximity that spoke louder than any conversation. One gray afternoon, Lily showed up at Emma's office with 2 coffees and a suspicious look. You're hiding, she said, handing her one of the cups. I'm working. Working with an expression like you're about to run off to a deserted island. Emma said. Lily, have you ever felt like you were about to make a decision that would change everything? I have. Every time I click buy on an internet sale, I'm being serious. I am, too. But yes, I felt that when I decided to end a 3-year relationship, for example, or when I agreed to move to a new city alone. Big decisions are scary. And how do you know if you're making the right choice? You don't know. You feel it. And even then, sometimes it feels wrong. Life doesn't come with email confirmation. Emma leaned back in her chair, staring at the ceiling. Noah asked me, without words, if we still have a chance, and I answered, also without words, maybe yes. And now I need to decide if I want to keep trying or if it's better to stop here. Lily drank her coffee. Want some advice? Always. If you're going to mess up, let it be because of courage, never because of fear. Emma smiled. You read that in a fortune cookie. But didn't you? No. It was on a motivational post with a cheesy sunset. But it worked. That night, Emma opened her closet and stared at her clothes as if searching for a sign. There were too many dresses she hadn't worn in months, blouses she bought on impulse, pants that no longer fit. And then there was that skirt, not the one torn on the bike, but an identical one bought weeks later. It was there, hanging like a reminder of everything that started absurdly. She picked it up and folded it carefully. Then she sat on the bed and wrote a single message. Tomorrow after work. The park, where you almost killed me. Just you and me. Noah responded with a bicycle emoji and a heart. Emma rolled her eyes and smiled. The next day, the workday felt longer than usual. The clock seemed to move slower, as if time itself was nervous. Emma tried to distract herself with simple tasks, organizing documents, reviewing contracts, ignoring the tremble in her hands. At exactly 6 o'clock p.m., she walked down the stairs with firm steps, even though her heart was racing. Noah was already there this time. No bike, no suit, just jeans, a gray t-shirt, and that same look he always had, calm on the outside, confused on the inside. On time, he said, hands in his pockets. I had an appointment with someone who changed my life. He sounds pretentious. He is, but maybe he deserves a chance. They started walking through the park in silence. The place was the same as before, but it felt different. Maybe because now they were, too. I've thought a lot about us, Emma said, stopping near the lake. So have I. And I've come to the conclusion that I'm scared of me, of everything, of jumping in and getting hurt, of creating expectations, of becoming just another unresolved story in your life. Emma, let me finish. He nodded. But despite all that, despite all the chaos, the misunderstandings, the failures, I still feel something I can't explain, and I don't want to ignore it. Noah took a step forward. So tell me what you want. She took a deep breath. I want to keep going, but on my terms, at my pace, no rush, no pressure. I want something real, not perfect. And you'll have it. You say that now. And I'll say it tomorrow, too, and after that, and every day you let me be around. They looked at each other, and there was no more doubt. Emma took his hand. But if you rip another one of my skirts, I'll report you to the UN. It's a deal. The relationship that started there wasn't a fairy tale. It was human, with mistakes, adjustments, inside jokes, and some slips back into old habits. Noah learned to listen more, to control less, to be vulnerable. Emma learned to trust, to forgive, to allow herself. They still had tough days, late emails, cold coffees, long nights. But they also had spontaneous laughs, long hugs, and that good feeling of knowing they were trying together. One day, weeks later, Emma got a call from HR. A new position was opening up, internal communications coordinator. A step forward, a new phase, but it meant no longer being Noah's personal assistant. She thought, weighed the options, questioned herself. That night, she told him, "You have to accept," he said without hesitation. "Even if we see each other less, I'd rather see you less and see you happy than see you every day, knowing you're stuck because of me." She kissed him slowly, as if thanking him. "You're doing great as a boyfriend. I'm trying a lot, but I'm still scared of messing up. And I'm scared of getting hurt. So we keep messing up and healing together." On her last day as assistant, Emma walked into Noah's office with an envelope in her hand. "Is this a goodbye note?" he asked. "Something like that." He opened it. Inside was a tiny bicycle with a paper skirt stuck on the wheel. A gift? A reminder of what? That sometimes the silliest stumbles lead to unexpected places. He looked at her. "I wouldn't change a thing. Neither would I." They hugged. And right there, in that moment, everything felt in the right place. The promotion wasn't just a career leap for Emma. It was a dive into new territory. Now, as internal communications coordinator, she was dealing directly with departments she barely knew, managing tight deadlines, leading small teams, and making decisions she had once only observed from afar. And with that came distance, not just physical, now on another floor in a different wing of the company, but also an invisible distance that had crept in between her and Noah. Before, she knew every detail of his routine. Now, she only heard about it. "Mr. Parker requested a change in the board meeting agenda. The CEO is out today visiting a key client. Noah asked for new materials for the investor presentation. Everything came through others. Nothing was said directly anymore. In the early days, Emma tried to ignore it. After all, it wasn't her job anymore to keep that constant contact, and they still saw each other outside of work. Quick dinners, end-of-day texts, some coffees during the week. But everything was changing quietly, as if an invisible veil was slowly being pulled between them. Even the conversations had changed. "How was your day?" Noah would ask. "Busy. Had to review a report with mistakes, deal with 2 nervous interns, and still manage the internal engagement campaign. How about you?" "Meetings, meetings, and more meetings." Yep." Long pauses, short answers. Conversations that used to flow for hours now seemed to stumble after a few sentences. On a Tuesday night, Emma was leaving work when she ran into Noah in the underground parking lot. It was the first time they'd seen each other by chance in weeks. "You're here this late?" he said, surprised. "Presentation ran late. Just got out." "And your dinner with Lily?" "I canceled. Wasn't in the mood." They stood there for a second, looking at each other. Both seemed more tired than they remembered. "Is something wrong with us?" she asked suddenly. Noah took a deep breath. "I was going to ask you the same thing. Everything feels distant, forced, like we're trying to keep a conversation going that's already over." "Do you think it's over?" "I don't know." She looked away. "I think what scares me the most isn't the end. It's the doubt, the feeling that we're losing each other without even realizing it." Noah stepped closer. "I'm still here, Emma. But are we still here?" Silence. "Maybe we need some space," she said, struggling. "Space? Not to end it, just to breathe." Noah nodded, but his eyes said something else. "All right. Do you understand?" "No, but I respect it." In the days that followed, Emma threw herself into work projects, deadlines, meetings. She tried to fill the emotional gaps with tasks, like organizing a shelf to forget that the house was empty. Lily noticed right away. "You're in survival mode," she said, sitting down at Emma's desk with a cup of tea. "I'm busy." "You're trying to distract yourself. It works temporarily, then it turns into silence. Sometimes silence is necessary, but not when it comes from a place that used to be full." Emma stayed silent. Lily grabbed a piece of candy from the desk. "When are you going to talk to him? When I know what to say? What if it's too late? Then it was meant to be." Meanwhile, Noah buried himself in work more than ever. His employees noticed colder, more direct, less involved. Then, during a board meeting, someone mentioned Emma's new internal campaign. Her team did a great job. Engagement levels went up 27% in 2 months. Noah just nodded. But inside, something tightened pride and sadness. He wasn't there to see it happen. He hadn't been part of the process. He had no idea what she went through to achieve that result. That's when he realized he was letting Emma slip through his fingers once again. And this time, without even fighting for it. 2 days later, Emma arrived at the office and found an envelope on her desk, the same kind of envelope as before, the same handwriting. She hesitated before opening it, but she opened it. "Emma, when you asked me for space, I thought it was just room to breathe. But time passed, and I realized it was also silence. And that silence forced me to listen. I realized I've been trying to keep you close without truly being with you. I was your chaos and your calm, but maybe I've also been your burden. I don't want to be a hard memory anymore. If there's still room for me on your path, I'm ready. But if there isn't, I'll understand. Just promise me one thing. Be happy, with me or without me. Always yours, Noah." Emma slowly folded the letter. She stared at the envelope for several minutes, as if it were possible to reverse time with nothing but willpower. Then she grabbed her phone but didn't call. Didn't write, not yet. That night, Lily showed up with 2 glasses and a bottle of wine. "Tonight, we're going to do what best friends do when love life goes into waiting mode. Talk nonsense, and laugh at old memes. Is that therapy? It's what we've got, and it's cheaper. Emma laughed. Thanks for being here. I'll always be here, but you need to decide if you want him here too. I do. Then hurry. Before silence turns into a period. The next day, Noah didn't show up to work. Emma was surprised. No one knew exactly why. The secretary just said he'd taken the day off for personal reasons. At lunchtime, she picked up her phone, called, rang, went to voicemail. She hesitated, then typed a message. Read your letter. We need to talk today. Is that okay? Nothing. 2 hours later, still no response. Lily came into the room with the newspaper. Did you see this? What? Lily turned the newspaper. A business column highlighted Noah's possible transfer to an international branch, a new project, a bigger role, a new city. Emma froze. He didn't say anything. Maybe he's still deciding, or maybe he's already decided. She grabbed her phone and tried calling again. Voicemail. Her heart raced. She left the room, went down the stairs, ran to the parking lot. Nothing. His car wasn't there. The weather changed that afternoon. A light rain started falling, as if the sky itself felt the weight of the moment. Standing in the company's lobby, Emma finally wrote, If you're still in town, meet me at our spot, please. And she sent it. Then she grabbed her umbrella and left. She arrived at the park. Wet. Empty. Quiet. She sat on the bench by the lake, waiting. Minutes passed, then a few more. The rain picked up. And so did the fear that she was too late, that she had waited so long for an answer, and when she finally wanted to give one, there was no one left to listen. But then, through the misty fog, a figure approached, hands in pockets, slow steps, hair messy from the rain. You came, she said. Standing up. Of course I did, he replied. Out of breath. I thought I almost left, but something told me there was one last conversation left. Emma moved closer. The letter, it was all I could say clearly. And now I need to hear from you. She took a deep breath. I choose to keep going, even with the fear, even without certainty, because what we have isn't common, and I don't want to spend my life asking, what if? Noah took a step. Then another. I'm willing to start everything over, however is best for you. No rush, no pressure, just truth. They stood in silence for a moment, the rain falling around them like a soft soundtrack to their reunion. Then Emma extended her hand. Start over with me. Noah took it. Always. And there, in the same place where everything had gone wrong, they decided to begin again this time, the right way. Saying that starting over was easy would be a comfortable lie. Emma and Noah both knew that, but surprisingly, they found that starting over with lightness could be better than trying to pick up where they left off. Now everything was different. No more tense glances in the office, or sharp jokes to hide their feelings. What they had was something more mature, still imperfect because that was part of them, but honest, natural. She still rolled her eyes at his jokes, and he still forgot his phone charger at important meetings. But they were together, for real, for the first time, without any reservations. One Saturday, Emma woke up to the smell of pancakes coming from the kitchen. Are you trying to win me over with food? She asked, appearing in the doorway with her hair tied up in a messy bun. Win you over? I already won. Now I'm just maintaining the investment, Noah replied, holding a spatula and wearing an apron that said, Chef of Love. She looked at the apron. Does that have glitter on it? Culinary glitter. Very sophisticated. They sat down to eat. The conversation flowed easily, just like it always did during the good times. You know what I was thinking? Noah said. Stacking pancakes. That's always a risk. We've been through it all. Torn skirts, nosy ex-girlfriends, painful silences, almost breaking up, and an almost tragedy involving pillows, and a reckless cyclist. Exactly. And still, we survived. We survived and got better. He looked at her, a different sparkle in his eyes. So maybe it's time to do this, right? Emma raised an eyebrow. Do what? Life with you. All in, with a contract, witnesses, cake, and dramatic vows. "Noah Parker, are you asking me to marry you?" He got up, went to the living room, came back pushing a pink kid's bike with training wheels and a basket. "I was going to do this in style with a fancy dinner and violin, but I thought this would be more us." "This is," she started laughing. "A bicycle? Not just any bicycle, the bicycle of a new beginning." He opened the basket. Inside was a velvet box. Emma put her hand over her mouth, already laughing with tears in her eyes. Noah knelt down, still wearing the glitter apron. "Emma Carter, since the day you lost your skirt because of me, my life's been off balance, and I realized I didn't want any routine where you weren't there. Will you marry me and keep laughing at my bad ideas for the rest of our lives?" She didn't answer immediately. She just stood there, trying to hold back both the tears and the laughter at the same time. "I accept." "Of course I accept, you crazy guy." Noah slid the ring on her finger, and they both fell into an embrace straight into the pancakes. The wedding was set for 6 months later. Lily took on the role of headmaid of the chaotic and joyful planning. "I demand 3 things," she declared at the first planning meeting. "A fabulous dress, a dramatic bouquet, and no chance of boredom." "Can we get married on a spinning stage?" Noah suggested. "Only if you're dressed as a chef with glitter," Emma replied. The big day arrived with sunshine, a clear sky, and more chaos than any normal ceremony could handle. To start, the decorator mixed up the instructions and decorated the hall with bicycles hanging from the ceiling. "Is this artistic?" Emma's mom asked, her eyes wide. "It's symbolic," Lily answered before texting the group, "Plan B." The bicycles are now part of the theme. Pretend it was intentional. Emma got stuck in the zipper of her dress 10 minutes before walking in. Lily had to use pliers to get it undone. "It's all good," she said, sweating. "This is normal." Every bride almost rips her dress from nerves. "I'm not nervous," Emma lied, shaking all the way down to her lashes. Outside, Noah waited at the altar with the wrong left shoe. They swapped shoes in the dressing room. He only noticed when he tried to walk straight and waddled like a penguin. But none of that mattered when the music started. And Emma appeared no tripping, no torn skirt, no hesitation. Noah looked at her like time had stopped. Lily, standing nearby, whispered, "He looks like a CEO seeing the emotional profit of his life double." The ceremony was led by a friend of the couple who wasn't a priest or a judge, but gave such an awkward and charismatic speech that half the guests were crying from laughter. "We're here to unite 2 people who have gone through more accidents, stumbles, and emotional GPS errors than any couple I know, but who decided still to stick together. This, my friends, is what I call success." When it was time for the vows, Emma took the microphone. "Noah Parker, I promise not to yank your tie during meetings anymore, unless you deserve it. I promise to patiently listen to your ridiculous ideas and laugh, even when they're only half funny. I promise to be your partner on the good days, your rock on the bad days, and your fan on every other day. And most of all, I promise to never forget the day everything started with a skirt flying in the middle of the street." Noah wiped a tear away and took the microphone. "Emma Carter, I promise to never ride a bike toward you again, unless it's to run away together from a boring corporate event. I promise to take care of you on your chaotic days, respect you on your tough days, and admire you every other day. And I promise, even after 50 years, to still laugh with you about our first mistakes and thank God every day that they happened." When the I-do's were said, the guests cheered through biodegradable confetti, and Lily almost passed out from emotion. At the party, the first dance wasn't a waltz. It was an impromptu choreography to a pop song from the 2002, which ended with Noah nearly falling and Emma saving the moment with a laugh and a kiss. The pink bike from the proposal stayed at the entrance of the party, decorated with flowers and a sign hanging on it. Here started the most beautiful disaster of our lives. The guests took pictures, made jokes, and everyone left with party favors, mini bicycles with fabric skirts attached to the wheels. Lily, holding the microphone, made the final toast. "Today, we celebrate not just love but the improbable, the comic, the things that go wrong until they go right. And in the end, that's what makes everything so perfect." Later, in the hotel room where they spent their wedding night, Emma lay beside Noah, both still with glitter in their hair and goofy smiles on their faces. "Do you think we'll keep laughing like this forever?" she asked, staring at the ceiling. "As long as it's up to me, yes. But I'll probably keep tripping over furniture, forgetting birthdays, and making coffee too strong. And I'll probably keep complaining about all of it, dramatizing, and threatening to hide your bike forever." "Perfect," he said. "Sounds like a good life plan." And then, before turning off the lights, Noah pulled her closer and whispered, "You know, for everything that went wrong, I'm thankful." "Why?" "Because everything that went wrong brought me here with you, and that is my happy ending." Emma smiled, resting her head on his chest. Then let the mess of life come, together. Months after the wedding, life settled into a rhythm that was both new and familiar. Emma thrived in her role as internal communications coordinator, leading projects that brought the company closer together. Her campaigns were bold, her ideas fresh, and her confidence grew with every success. Noah, meanwhile, continued steering the company through its international expansion, navigating high-stakes deals with a calm that only came from knowing he had someone solid waiting for him at home. Their days were busy, often spilling into late nights, but they made time for each other small moments, like sharing takeout on the couch or arguing over who made better coffee. Lily remained Emma's rock, always ready with a sarcastic quip or a bottle of wine when life got overwhelming. "You two are disgustingly happy," she teased one evening, sprawled across Emma's living room with a pizza box between them. "It's not all perfect," Emma admitted, picking at a slice. "We still fight. He leaves dishes in the sink, and I'm pretty sure I scare him when I get too intense about work." "That's marriage," Lily said, shrugging. "It's not about being perfect, it's about not running away when it's messy." Emma nodded, thinking of the torn skirts, the misunderstandings, the rain-soaked park bench. They hadn't run away. One quiet Sunday, Emma and Noah decided to revisit the park where it all began. They walked hand in hand, the lake sparkling under the afternoon sun. "This place feels different now," Emma said, stopping at the bench where she'd once waited for him in the rain. "Less like a crime scene?" Noah teased. She elbowed him lightly. "Less like the universe was laughing at me." They sat down, watching joggers and families pass by. Noah pulled a small paper from his pocket, a crumpled receipt from the bookstore where Emma's skirt had met its second demise. "Kept this," he said, grinning. "A souvenir of our chaos." Emma laughed, snatching it from him. "You're ridiculous. And you love it." "Maybe I do." As they sat there, a cyclist zoomed past, too close for comfort. Emma instinctively grabbed Noah's arm, then burst out laughing. "Some things never change," she said. Noah wrapped an arm around her, pulling her close. "Good. I like our brand of chaos." They stayed there until the sun dipped below the horizon, talking about nothing and everything, future plans, silly dreams, the possibility of a dog. Emma was pro. Noah was skeptical. It was ordinary, unremarkable, and yet it felt like the most important moment they'd shared in a while. Back at home, Emma found the tiny bicycle from their wedding favors tucked in a drawer. She held it up. The paper skirt still stuck to the wheel. "We should frame this," she said, half joking. Noah looked over from the kitchen, where he was attempting to make dinner without burning the apartment down. "Frame it? That's a lawsuit waiting to happen." "It's art," Emma countered, setting it on the counter. "It's us." He walked over, kissed her forehead, and said, "Then it's perfect." Life wasn't without its challenges. There were days when work pulled them in opposite directions, when miscommunications led to sharp words, when the weight of their past doubts crept back in. But they'd learned to face those moments together, to talk through the noise, to choose each other, even when it wasn't easy. Emma kept her promise to never forget the skirt incident, bringing it up whenever Noah got too smug. Noah kept his promise to admire her every day, even when she was in sweatpants, yelling at a broken printer. One evening, as they sat on their balcony overlooking the city, Emma turned to Noah. "Do you ever think about how we got here?" she asked, sipping her wine. "Every day," he said, his eyes soft. "I think about the bike, the park, the letters, the way you looked at me when you said yes. I think about how I almost lost you, and how I'll never let that happen again." Emma reached for his hand. "You won't. We're too stubborn for that." They laughed, and in that moment, The world felt small, simple, theirs. Years later, when they told their story to friends or curious coworkers, it always started with the skirt and the bike. "It was a disaster," Emma would say, grinning. "But the best kind," Noah would add, his arm around her. And they'd laugh, because that was their truth, a love built on stumbles, patched together with courage, and held tight by the belief that even the messiest beginnings could lead to something beautiful.